Previously on Lila and her secret, Lila decided to confront the gentleman, the cold man, and she wanted answers from him, and the man gave him answers that she wanted, but the answers shocked Lila. She realized that the photograph she has been hiding for a long time is actually the center of all the troubles that she's facing, and it is more than just memories of her. So we're going to continue from there. Lila returned to her shop in a dance. The money's words echoed in her mind. The photograph she had hidden away for so long was the heart of something much larger, something that could destroy not just her but everything around her. She couldn't understand how a single photograph could hold so much power, but she knew she had to figure it out. She went straight to the drawer where she kept the photograph. Her hands shaking, but she pulled it out. Holding it up to light, she studied it closely, searching for any clue, any detail that she might have missed before. The photograph was old and faded, the edges worn from years of handling. It showed a group of people standing together, their faces turned towards the camera. Lila recognized one of the faces immediately, her own, but much younger. It had been taken years ago, in another life before she had left everything behind and started a new life. But there was something else in the photograph, something she hadn't noticed before. In the background, almost hidden in the shadows, was a figure standing apart from the group. The figure was partially obscured, but Lila could make out the outline of the man. His face turned away from the camera. Who was he? And why had she never noticed him before? Lila's heart raced as she realized that this man, this shadow figure, was the key to everything. He was the connection between her past and the dangerous situation she's now found herself in. But the photograph was odd, and she had no idea who the man was and how to find him. Desperation surged through her. She needed answers, and she needed them now. The photograph was her only lead, and she had to figure out its secret before it was too late. But where could she turn for help? Who could she trust? As she sat there, staring at the photograph, a thought occurred to her. There was one person who might be able to help, someone who had been there when the photograph was taken, someone who might know more about the man in the shadows. But reaching out to this person meant confronting a part of her past that she had tried so hard to forget. It meant digging up memories that she had buried long ago, memories that still haunted her. Lila took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she had to do. She had no choice. The past was catching up with her, and if she didn't act now, it would consume her completely. Lila knew the decision she was about to make was a risky one, but she was running out of options. She had to reach out to someone from her past, someone she hadn't spoken to in years, an old friend who had been there when the photograph was taken. Her name was Mara, and she had been Lila's closest friend back in those days. They had been inseparable, sharing everything from secrets to dreams. But when Lila had left that life behind, she had cut all the ties, including with Mara. She didn't know if Mara could even want to talk to her after all this time. She had to try. Lila found herself dialing the number she had kept tucked away in her memory for years. Her hands shook as she waited, each ringing echoing loudly in her ears. Just as she was about to give up, a familiar voice answered. "Lila, is that really you?" Hearing Mara's voice after all these years sent a wave of emotions crashing over her. "Yes, it's me. Mara, I'm sorry for disappearing like I did, but I need your help. It's important." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Lila could almost hear Mara weighing her words, deciding whether to open the door to the past that they both had closed so long ago. "Lila, I don't know what you mix up in, but if you need help, I'll be there," Mara finally said, her voice softer now. "Where are you?" Mara asked. Lila felt a crush of relief. She gave Mara her address and agreed to meet at her shop that evening. Hanging up on phone, she tried to steady her nerves. She had taken the first step, but she knew this was just the beginning. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mara arrived. She looked almost the same as Lila remembered, slightly older, a little wiser, but with the same warmth in her eyes that had once made Lila feel like she could face anything. They hugged, and for a moment it was like the years had melted away. But the weight of the situation quickly returned, and Lila pulled back, her expression serious. "Mara, there is something I need to show you." Lila led her to the workshop where she had laid the photograph on the table. "Do you remember this?" Mara picked the photograph, her eyes narrowing as she studied it. "Of course, I do. This was taken at that gathering right before everything went wrong." Lila nodded, her heart heavy with the memories. "Do you see the man in the background? The one in the shadows?" Mara looked carefully at the photograph, then gasped softly. "I didn't notice him before. Who is he?" "I don't know," Lila admitted, her voice trembling. "But he's connected to something dangerous. Someone found out about this photograph and now I'm being watched, threatened. I need to know who is he and why he's so important." Mara looked up at Lila, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "We'll figure this out together. But Lila, you need to be careful. If this man is as dangerous as you think, we might be in over our heads." Lila nodded, grateful for Mara's support, but also aware of the gravity of their situation. The man in the shadows was a key to unlock the mystery, but finding out the truth could put them both in grave danger. With Mara's help, Lila felt a renewed sense of purpose. They spent hours that night going over every detail they could remember from the time the photograph was taken. They talked about the people who were there, the event that led up to the gathering, and any possibility connection that could explain the man's presence. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't come up with a clear answer. The man remained a shady figure, elusive and mysterious. "We're missing something," Lila said, fractions creeping into her voice. There has to be a clue, something we're overlooking." Mara nodded, deep in thought. Maybe we're thinking about this the wrong way. Instead of focusing on the man, we should focus on the event itself. What happened that day that was so important? Why would someone want to hide it? Lila thought back to the gathering. It had been a celebration, a reunion of sorts, bringing together people who hadn't seen each other in years. There was something strange about that day, Lila admitted. I remember feeling uneasy, like something was about to happen, but I never found out what it was. Mara's eyes lit up with an idea. What if we try to track down some of the other people who are there? Maybe someone else remembers more than we do. It was a long shot, but it was the best plan they had. Lila agreed, and they spent the next few days reaching out to old people they hadn't spoken to in years. Some were surprised to hear from them, others were worried, but most were willing to help, if only out of curiosity. As they pieced together bits of information, a picture began to emerge. Gathering had been more than just a celebration. There had been a sense of urgency, as if the people they had been brought together for a specific reason. One name kept coming up, a man named Victor, who had been an organizer of the event. He had been a charismatic, influential, and deeply connected to everyone who was there that day. But Victor had disappeared shortly after the gathering, and no one had heard from him since. Victor knew something, Mara said, her voice filled with certainty. Whatever it was, it is connected to the man in the photograph. We need to find him. But finding Victor wouldn't be easy. He had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only rumors and whispers. Some said he had gone into hiding. Others believed he had met with a tragic end. But Lila and Mara were determined to find him, no matter how long it took. As they delved deeper into their research, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The shadows seemed to grow darker, the air thicker with tension. She knew they were getting closer to the truth, but every step forward, the danger grew more real. As the days passed, Lila realized that uncovering the secret of the photograph would come at a cost she wasn't sure she was prepared to pay. The search for Victor consumed Lila and Mara. They searched out to every connection, every old friend, and every distant friend who might know something about his whereabouts. But as they dug deeper, they realized that just how well Victor had hidden himself. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Yet, the more they learned about him, the more Lila understood that Victor was the man with many layers. Layers that hid secrets and destruction that went far beyond what anyone had known. He wasn't just an organizer. He was someone who had the power to influence people and events in a way that aren't immediately obvious. The stories they had about him painted a picture of a man who had his hands in everything. Victor had been charming and persuasive, always knowing the right thing to say to gain people's trust. But he had always been secretive, always keeps a part of himself hidden from those around him. He must have known something dangerous, Lila said. One night as she and Mara pored over the notes they had gathered, something that made him disappear. Mara nodded, her face inched with concern. But how now? Why is this all coming back after so many years? Lila couldn't answer that. All she knew was that the timing wasn't a coincidence. Someone wanted the truth about Victor and the photograph to stay buried, and they were willing to do whatever it took to keep it hidden. As they turned in 2 weeks, Lila and Mara's search led them to a small town, few hours away from where the photograph was taken. There, they found an old man who was once close to Victor, a former business partner who had lost everything after Victor's disappearance. The man introduced himself as Mr. Green. He lived in isolation for years, haunted by the past, But when Lila showed him the photograph, something in his eyes changed. He seemed to recognize the man in the shadows, but he hesitated to speak. "I don't know what you're getting into," Mr. Ron said, his voice trembling. Victor, he was involved in things that were better left forgotten. He made enemies, dangerous ones. "Who is the man in the photograph?" Lila pressed her heart racing. Why is he so important?" Mr. Green sighed heavily, as if the weight of his memories were too much to bear. That man, he was Victor's right hand, his most trusted ally, but he was also the one who betrayed him. Lila's breath caught her throat. Betrayed him? How? Mr. Green looked at her with sad, weary eyes. The gathering wasn't just a reunion. It was a meeting to discuss something that could change everything, something powerful. Victor had discovered something that could make or break those in power. But his right-hand man, he sold him out, and after that, Victor disappeared, taking the secret with him. Lila felt a cold chill run down her spine. The photograph wasn't just a memory, it was evidence. Evidence of betrayal that had cost Victor everything. And now, someone wanted to make sure that evidence never saw the light of the day. "But why keep it hidden?" Lila asked, her voice barely above the whisper. "Why go to such length of bury the truth?" Mr. Green shook his head. "Because what Victor knew would destroy people, important people. It could bring down empires, ruin lives. And that man in the photograph was still out there, making sure it stays buried." As they left Mr. Green's home, Lila felt a heavy sense of dread settle over her. The man in the photograph was more than just a shadow. He was the master plan of all this dangerous game, one that cost Victor his life and could now cost Lila hers. Mara was quiet as they drove back, her mind clearly racing with thoughts of what they had just learned. "We need to be careful, Lila," she said finally. "If this man is still out there, he won't let us uncover the truth without a fight." Lila nodded, her determination hardening. "We have to find Victor. He's the only one who can tell us what really happened." But finding Victor was easier said than done. Every lead they followed seemed to end in the dead end, as if Victor had intentionally erased every trace of his existence. The more they searched, the more it felt like they were chasing a ghost. But Lila refused to give up. She couldn't. The photograph had haunted her for too long, and now that she was so close to the truth, she wouldn't turn back. As they continued their search, they began to notice strange things happening around them. People who had been willing to talk suddenly climbed up, resisting to answer their questions. It became clearer that someone was watching them, someone who didn't want them to find Victor. Lila could feel the noose tightening around her, but she pushed forward, determined to uncover the truth no matter the cost. Then one night, as they were going through the notes in the shop, a brick thrown through the window shattering the glass across the floor. Attached to the brick was a note, scrawled in angry. "Stop searching or you will end up like Victor." Lila's heart pounded in her chest as she read the note. The threat was clear. If she continued her search, she would meet the same fate as Victor. But instead of being scared, she turned into a determined one. It only fueled her resolution. Thank you so much for watching. This is our part 2 of the Tailor and her secret. Don't miss out each part, guys. So kindly subscribe if you've not yet subscribed to this channel for these amazing stories, guys. Kindly subscribe and leave something in the comment section. Just let me know what you think of this video. That one comment means a lot to me. It means a lot to me, guys. So leave something in the comment section. Just let me know how you feel the character, how you feel, do you feel the story? Just put it in the comment section. So part 3 is coming soon. This is part 2. Part 3 is coming soon. So bye bye. See you in the next story. I love you all.